A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the NUS Postgraduate by Coursework Fair 2022. Thank you for joining us in this two-day event, and we hope you had a fruitful time so far, visiting the various virtual booths and enriching yourself for the masterclasses. The session that you're attending now will be presented by the NUS College of Design and Engineering, and joining us as a distinguished speaker is Professor Chandrasekhar, Program Director, Masters of Science in Building Performance and Sustainability Program, Department of Built Environment at the NUS College of Design and Engineering. Now, before I hand the time over to Professor Sekhar, kindly be informed that should you have any question, you may post them in the Q&A section to the right of your screen, and we will address them during a dedicated Q&A session after the presentation. Now, with that said, and without further ado, may I now invite Professor Sekhar to the virtual stage. Professor.
Thank you, Sweni. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, just to check, Sweni, the slides are seen by you?
Yes.
And you're able to hear me well?
Yes, perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this session, the NUS Postgraduate by Coursework Fair 2022. And in particular, I am here to talk about the Master of Science in Building Performance and Sustainability program. I am the program director. I'm a professor in the Department of the Built Environment in the College of Design and Engineering at the National University of Singapore. So let me get started by saying pretty much what you will see in terms of what this program is on our homepage. So this is, as I said, Master of Science in Building Performance and Sustainability. The program is aimed as a multidisciplinary educational program. So we have graduates who come from different disciplines and who are engaged in the design, construction, commissioning, operation and maintenance of building systems and services. And these are not just a building by itself, big facilities. We're talking about airports, malls, hospitals, hotels, recreational facilities. Any of these type of built environments that are increasingly getting on the mega scale, we need dedicated approach to make these built environments as comfortable and as acceptable to the occupants that use this facility. So it is an important domain that this program is serving to. And it is also to enable our candidates who come into this program to acquire the latest knowledge. I'll share a little bit more about what kind of knowledge we are talking about. Acquire the knowledge and practice in the broad field of building performance and sustainability. And I want to just highlight one important connection that I'm sure most of you in the audience will be able to relate to. In today's world, we are talking about energy, we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about climate change and the impact it has caused on planet Earth and how that impacts us as members of the society, whether we are talking about in our own country, in our own city, or the entire world. And these impacts don't just appear in one part of the world, they are appearing pretty much in every part of the world. And I'm sure even as I speak, the events that are happening currently in certain parts of the world, like the hurricane on the US West Coast, the hurricane in the tropical hurricane in Florida, that's what I'm referring to, which has been quite devastating. So we are talking about the impacts that some of these climate change impacts are going to cause to the world and to cities and to the built environments. And I'll be talking a little bit about the connection that this program, Master of Science, Building Performance and Sustainability, has with things that we are experiencing in our world today. let me just proceed further. We are in NUS in the Department of the Built Environment. We have been ranked 6th, and we have been maintaining pretty good ranking in the last few years. I want to just start off by giving you a little bit of the background of this program. It's a fairly established program. It was established back in 1986, and it was then called the Master of Science in Building Science. And then, as is normal with any graduate programs, we have evolved through the years. There were trends of sustainability and performance, building performance, that were kind of incorporated very clearly when we changed our program's name to Master of Science Building Performance and Sustainability in 2010. Then came the trends of IoT and smart technologies, AI and data analytics, all of which play a very important role in this program. So we revised further in terms of a curriculum and in terms of the content and the structure in 2016. So the program that is currently on offer is the one that was revised in 2016. So it's an established program, and our average annual intake over the years has been between 25 and 30, and we aim to increase it in the next few years to kind of have a steady state about, I would say, 50 or thereabouts. Let me also now talk a little bit about the program overview. I'll have a couple of slides to talk about this. We are a lab-based graduate program, and it is offered both as a full-time or as a part-time program. And we are located in the College of Design and Engineering in the Department of the Built Environment. We have one intake a year, which is the August intake. And the ones that you see in red, these are what we call as the graduation requirements. The MCs here refer to the modular credits, which is 40. I'll explain to you what this is in a while. And then we have a minimum cumulative average point. This is the CAP score that one needs to graduate. The maximum is 5. We want at least a 3 to graduate. So it's a mere pass will not be adequate. We say you need to do better than that on a continuous basis. So a CAP score of 3 is required for graduation. As I just mentioned, 1 year full-time and 2 years part-time. And these are the minimum and maximum candidature in terms of the semesters. So if someone were to read this program on a full-time basis, typically our international students will be on this mode full-time. It's two semesters minimum and maximum 4 semesters. Part-time, it's minimum 4 semesters and maximum is 6 semesters. So what we hope that most candidates do, and this is our observation over the years, the full-time students would typically finish in 2 semesters, and the part-time students would typically finish in 4 semesters. I want to just give you a little bit of the flavor in terms of the composition of the students that come into this program from different parts of the world. Of course, we are based in Singapore, so we have a lot of students who are from Singapore, be it both full-time or part-time. Then we have the ASEAN region from Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam. And then we have China. Then we have Hong Kong, Japan, India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Bangladesh, Australia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Emirates. Then we have Italy, Greece, Mauritius, so in Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Argentina, from Latin America, and of course, the United States. So as you can see here, we do have candidates over the years. I'm not saying they are from every cohort. Over the years, we have had candidates who have come from different parts of the world. The representation is what you see on this slide here. Why NUS Master of Science in Building Performance and Sustainability? Why should you go for MSc BPS? There are 4 points that are listed here. You acquire a sound understanding of the importance of sustainability in the creation of a building or the built environment, and not just in the creation, but also in the operation and maintenance of building systems. And it is a multidisciplinary approach. it is quite obvious that today, in today's world, we need a multidisciplinary approach in terms of achieving the requirements or the performance requirements of the facilities that we are talking about. You benefit from faculty members with international standing. A lot of the faculty members who teach on this program are very well plugged into their own research areas, into their own research domain. They're connected internationally as well. So they bring a lot of that experience into the classroom, which is very important in terms of the gaining of knowledge through R&D, both by themselves being part of the R&D effort and international connection, and also to share with you with the local expertise. We do have our own, say, the professionals from the industry in Singapore who will be invited to share their knowledge through guest lectures and those sort of arrangements, which are pretty common in the way we do our modules, our curriculum. You enjoy meaningful interaction with fellow students from diverse professional backgrounds. I just shared with you the kind of diversity we have from the various countries around the world. By the same token, we also have diversity in terms of different professional backgrounds. I will talk about that in a bit, but the different domains like engineers, architects, physicists, biologists, and building professionals, all of that from the undergraduate first degree domain, when they come to do a graduate program like the MSc in Building Performance and Sustainability, we are really talking about making a difference in what we see around us in the world. So it's a very practical, professional oriented program, and the skill sets that one gains through this program will really enhance the career prospects, as well as the fact that you can make a meaningful contribution to your chosen area in your career. And the fourth one is you are in a program from where you'll graduate with an internationally recognized degree and be qualified for practice in, say, the broad field of building performance and sustainability, not just here in Singapore, but the entire world. Wherever your career takes you to, wherever your life journey takes you to, you will play a significant role in the area of built environment and high performing buildings and sustainability, and coming up with solutions to some of the problems that we face in today's world in the built environment. I like to use this slide to give you a flavor of how we are not just placed in terms of the needs of today, but we are also very well positioned to see where we want to go to. And this is aligned with the national agenda here in Singapore. And this is the Singapore Green Plan slide. And I boxed in red some of the specifics of what you see here. And I want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about it. If you look at this box, the energy reset, you notice that there is something called the greener infrastructure and buildings. If you read what's written there are 3 bullet points here. The first one is by 2030, that's what this plan is taking us to. It's a master plan. It's a kind of a blueprint for us to go in another 8 years' time. 2030 is not too far away. So the 3 bullet points, the first one is green 80% of Singapore's buildings by gross floor area by 2030. 80% of Singapore's buildings. And it is a goal that was started way back in 2005 when Singapore first started the green building or the whole plan about high performing or green building initiative. The second bullet point is 80% of new buildings by gross floor area to be super low energy buildings. So today we are not just going to be satisfied with some level of energy efficiency and performance. We're going to expand in terms of what we can do. We're going to stretch our limits in that sense. We really want to make as efficient in terms of energy performance as possible, really stretching the boundary. So these are super low energy performance, meaning to say you do even better than what you were doing until, say, yesterday or last year. So really are striving to be even more energy efficient than what we have been doing up until now. So 80% of new buildings to be super low energy. Then we are talking about best in class green buildings. These are the high performing buildings to see 80% improvement in energy efficiency over the 2005 levels by 2030. Let me just expand a little bit on this last point. I am in this area of the built environment, so my own research interest in indoor environmental quality and energy efficiency and energy conservation. I have been in Singapore for almost 3 decades now in this department, and I've been engaged in teaching at various levels. So prior to 2005, we did not have something that we currently have. It's called the building rating system. We call it the Green Mark scheme in Singapore. Prior to 2005, we did not have that. We had other measures of energy efficiency, no doubt. But 2005, we clearly started being able to rate a building in terms of its energy performance, in terms of how it can save energy, minimize the energy demand. So the word over 2005 levels, so 2005 was the very first building that got the highly rated platinum rating building, rating in the building performance. Over that level, we have to show 80% improvement in energy efficiency. That's no simple task unless we really stretch our imagination and go for all the possible areas in which we can improve the energy efficiency. It will not be possible to reach there. So the 3 bullet points: green 80% of Singapore's buildings by 2030, 80% of new buildings by GFA should be super low energy, and best-in-class green buildings to see 80% improvement in energy efficiency over 2005 levels. So these are targets that's set in the Singapore Green Plan, and our program is very clearly aligned with this vision, with this aims that we have as a national agenda here in Singapore. And let me just say this: if you translate this to any other part of the world, it will be equally important, equally relevant, and that's how the whole world is gearing itself to meet some of the international goals, international targets, where we are trying to ensure that we do play our part, more than our part, in contributing towards what is being achieved in terms of the high performance building, the net zero energy building ambition that we would love to get there for all buildings one day in the future. So we are playing a part towards that sort of a vision. There is also the green energy part I boxed here, which is again related to how we will manage the renewable energy side of the discussion. A good part of the challenge that we face here is to cut down on fossil fuel energy consumption. And in this program, you will hear a lot of the curriculum where we will talk about minimizing energy demand. In other words, we want to reduce the energy demand. That's already an energy conservation approach. And then whatever energy you need, can we get it through renewable means? So we'll be talking about some of these. The solar energy deployment, as you see here in this box, is very much part of what we have in our curriculum in the MSc BPS program. And then I also placed a couple of other boxes here in the green economy. How do we talk in terms of new investments to be among the best in class in energy and carbon efficiency? Keeping Singapore cool. So an important part of what we are talking about as means of achieving good high performing building is to ensure that we manage the problem at source. So if we can minimize the increase in urban heat island effect, which is basically to say that your city areas in any city where you have high density of buildings, your ambient temperature is going to be at least a couple of degrees warmer than elsewhere where you have more open areas and greenery. So we are talking about using materials like cool paint. We're talking about adding more greenery to the buildings. In Singapore, we have already done quite a significant way to enhancing our building appearance, the building facade with vertical greenery. So all this is part of an integrated approach towards ensuring that we are able to minimize the urban heat island effect. So you see here the boxes that are put here, those kind of targets and aims are very well aligned in our curriculum for achieving what is a very clear Singapore Green Plan as a national agenda, Green Plan 2030. Let me now come back to the program itself and talk a little bit about the educational background or the professional background of the candidates who come into this program. I mentioned earlier, we have candidates who come from different parts of the world. And here I'm talking about the different background with which they come from. There's a whole bunch of different professional disciplines listed here: architecture, architectural engineering, mechanical engineering, project and facilities management, building or building engineering, building and construction management, HVAC engineering, applied physics, civil engineering, electrical engineering, materials and manufacturing engineering. So you see a whole list of engineering disciplines that would be relevant. Now, where does the common element or the common relevance comes in? Anyone with all this background, if they are in one way or the other connected with the built environment in terms of the sustainability aspects of it, in terms of the energy efficiency side of things, or in terms of carbon footprint or carbon mitigation, this program will be a very good one for their consideration in their career. Again, this is now getting very close to the curriculum details. The idea here is not to go into the details of what these modules are. I mentioned earlier that one needs to have a 40 modular credit to graduate. Most of the modules are actually designed as a 4 modular credit. A 4 modular credit means that you got to spend so many hours in the classroom for lectures, your project work, your self-study. So it's roughly about the workload that you will need to finish a module, and we're talking about 4 MCs pretty much for all the modules. Where you see an 8, it means it's double weighted, so the effort required is twice as it was, as it is with a 4 MC module. So there are essential modules. We have an integrated building design as an essential module. Then there's the studio module, Green Building Integration Evaluation Studio. So I mentioned earlier, if I remember correctly, that we have a lot of practical aspects of the industry that happens through the curriculum here. So we do get you to get engaged in projects that involve you to go and do some field measurements or field studies. There could be experiments that you might be doing in certain parts of the lab for your module. You could be engaged in a studio design sort of an environment where it is a design mode where you are using simulation tools. And that's what this module is about, the Green Building Integration Evaluation Studio. So you work like the real world, a team of professionals, consultants. You come together, you look at what the design specification says, and then you try to develop a design that works, and you use simulation tools as skills to help you evaluate how the performance is going to be eventually achieved. So these are other modules: microclimate design, indoor environmental quality. There's building energy performance, both passive systems and active systems. We have smart buildings and facilities. We have data science for the built environment. These are all new modules that we have added in the last, say, 5 to 7 years, since 2016, that is, where we saw that the future has to engage and involve a lot of this AI, data analytics, IoT sensors, those sort of engagement into the curriculum that we were already offering in the program before. These details are there in our brochure or on our website. I just want to give you an idea that there's not just one fixed way in which one can graduate. Typically, the 3 essential modules you need to do, that's 12 modular credit. Then you can do the rest of the modules from the other basket, what we call the prescribed elective, then you get the 40. Then there's another approach where you do the essential, then you do most of the prescribed electives. You're allowed to read 2 modules, which are what we call unrestricted elective. So being in this program, if you're interested in something related to project management, we would allow you to do that. If you're interested in doing something related to, say, even statistical analysis, we will allow you to do that. So it allows you to explore into areas that you probably don't directly find in this curriculum, in the BPS curriculum. That's up to 2 modules or 8 modular credit. Then we have the other option here, the last one that I'm showing you, the essential modules, 3 essential modules, and then you have the 5 prescribed electives, and then you can do a dissertation, which is the independent research study. For some of you who might want to have an experience in doing independent research, you could do it as a dissertation study, which typically spans over 2 semesters. So different ways in which you can achieve the graduation requirement of 40 modular credit. Our academic calendar in NUS is semester-based. We have semester 1 and semester 2. Semester 1 starts in August and goes all the way up to December, up to end of November, which is you're getting to exam period then. 17 weeks of teaching, and semester 2 we start in January, the second Monday of January, and it goes up to end April, early May. That's another 17 weeks. So these are the instruction period, as we call, 17 weeks in SEM 1 and 17 weeks in SEM 2. Some other useful information for the MSc Building Performance and Sustainability program. Our classes are held in the night, 7 to 10 p.m. All the modules. So we have Monday to Friday, every night there is a module in semester 1, and likewise, every night there's a module in semester 2, Monday to Friday. That way you get your equivalent of 10 modules, 10 times 4 MC, 40 modular credit. So it's all aligned with what you need to get for graduation, and you can do that in 2 semesters as a full-time student, but your classes will all be held in the evening. One of the reasons we have this is historically, when the program was first established, we wanted to facilitate those who are working in Singapore to read this program on a part-time basis. So the part-time and full-time students read the same content, or will be the same class in the evening, but they take different workload. Full-time students, you do 5 modules a semester. Part-time students, you do between 2 and 3 modules a semester. And that's why the part-time students also get double the time. They have 4 semesters to graduate. The essential module, Green Building Integration Evaluation Studio, it should be taken over 2 consecutive semesters. And we encourage and advise our part-time students to register in the second year. Just some practical information here. Yeah, the third box here, individual and group projects are quite typical in most modules. And I think I mentioned earlier as well, this is a very practical oriented program. You need to understand what's happening in buildings in the real world. You would need to do your own measurements, perhaps. You need to analyze the data that comes from, say, the buildings through their building automation system or any other data collection device that they may have. And it's also important that the projects are completed within the time frame, because you only have that window of time for the module in the semester. So you would need to work as a team. So we also encourage and facilitate group work, and teamwork is very important in the real world. That's what happens. It is a multidisciplinary approach to any aspect of work that we do in the real world. And it is absolutely the case when it comes to handling technical issues and solving some of the challenging problems that one might face in the built environment. So group projects is something that we strongly encourage through the various module content. Again, you need to go out into the field, collect data, and do the discussions and the analysis and the presentations. You would have the opportunity to do all of that through our course curriculum, through the module that we offer. And what that also means is when you are with us, the program workload to be managed effectively. So you have so many modules you're handling. So it's a case that you eventually get used to as you come and be part of the program. Career prospects. Our graduates can find their niche as environmentally sustainable design consultants, ESD consultants. They are engaged in integrated and collaborative designs and simulation studies of green buildings. Our graduates are equipped with this knowledge and skill sets. It's really in the area of smart green buildings, occupant well-being, energy auditing and management, indoor environmental quality. These are all clear areas that are of relevance to the society at large in the world. And you'll find career opportunities in managing large facilities such as airports, institutional buildings, malls, hospitals, and the like. The degree that we offer here at NUS, MSc BPS, enhances your standing and marketability wherever you go, not just here in Singapore, any part of the world. Most graduates typically return to their core disciplines as ESD consultants, or one of the built environment professional disciplines could be an M&E consulting team or an architectural team, but you are enhanced with the skills that you gain through the BPS program, the technical skills, the simulation skills, the analytical skills. All of that will place you in very good position as you advance in your career. Some students after graduating also return to research or education, and very occasionally, I would say, you'll also go on to pursue PhD degrees. Our graduates are employed in so many different areas, and so many different by so many different employers: architectural firms, ESD consultants, environmentally sustainable design consultants, M&E consultants, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consultants, they call MEP consultants. The agencies in Singapore, like the BCA, Building Construction Authority, Ministry of Manpower, LTA, Land Transport Authority, the university, the educational institution, IHLs, DSTA, all of these are employers who have hired graduates, our graduates, through their needs in sustainability discussion that they have, in sustainability domain that they have in their organization, for energy performance, for indoor environmental quality performance, and the like. I want to just take another 5 minutes or so to talk about something that we have in our own college, in the department as well. This is the Net Zero Energy Building. It's a 6-storied building, about 8,500 square meters. It was launched on 30th January 2019. It's the first purpose-built zero energy building in Singapore. And this was launched in January 2019. So what this building does is it offers the building itself as a kind of a facility where our students go through a lot of their educational experience. Just being in some of the classrooms here, doing studies, measurements to understand what kind of new features have been installed in the building. And there are some very interesting features. For instance, the air conditioning in this building typically is around 27 degrees Celsius. And you would be wondering, in the tropics, how could we even think of 27 degrees air-conditioned environment? Because we have asked some very fundamental questions and taken the notion of thermal comfort in a different way, because we know that we can also achieve at the warmer temperature if you can increase the air movement by using ceiling fans or pedestal fans. That's also a very realistic way of achieving comfort. So this is a building that our students use for a lot of the project work too, be it through simulation, be it through field measurements. And it's in that sense, a very live building. It's almost like a living lab in that sense. And you can see the photovoltaic panels on the top. So this building is not just a zero energy building. We also now understand that it is energy positive to some extent as well. So a lot of thought process went into it. We'll be sharing with you as you go through the program about the design intent, the design challenges, what was done to overcome some of these challenges. In other words, what does it make to even think about and put in place the requirements of a zero energy building right from the scratch? We will take you through, and that's part of the curriculum in several modules. You bring about some of these notions, the fundamental principle. But I'm showing you here that there is a building that our candidates, our students can experience for their educational outcomes. Some of the things that they would hear in theory in the class, they can also go and measure it for themselves. And some details about this building: it did win the Green Mark Platinum Award and this was in 2018. And it's got certain features. I won't go into some of those details here, just to give you a flavor that it is the first purpose-built net zero energy building in Singapore. So some other points about this building, there you can see here, just few months back, Zero Energy and Beyond NUS SDE4 attains Green Mark Positive Energy Award. So we are actually energy positive with this building. Okay, so that concludes my presentation, and I am going to stop sharing my screen. Sweni, you can take over, and then let's see how we want to move this discussion session.
Thank you so much, Professor Shekhar, for this insightful presentation. We will now move on to our next segment, which is the question and answer. So students, if you have any questions, you may post them in the Q&A section at the right of your screen. And we will try and address them.
So I'm seeing a question which is written as, what is the minimum GPA grade to enroll in these programs? So we typically say, if you look at the brochure, we say that you need to have a first-class honors degree. And if you have a first-class degree from a university that we look at across the world, then you should have about, we say, 3 years of experience. That's a question that's coming here. Is related work experience mandatory for admission to the program? Will internship experience be counted as work experience? We can consider the internship experience as the work experience. Again, if the academic credentials are good, we say good honors degree. So if someone gets a first class with distinction, then certainly that puts that particular person in terms of academic requirements quite clearly. So if it's honors degree and you have good grades, then you can come straight after the program, after your undergraduate program. But if it is, say you get typically a first class degree, and you are doing well in your undergraduate cohort, and you have, I think we say about 3 years of work experience. So that's where the requirement comes in. The requirement is clearly stated in the website and as well as in the brochure. Are there any scholarships or subsidies for the programs? I'm afraid not. There are some study grants that we offer, but not to all the students. There are some criteria, and these will be informed on the application package or on the instruction that you will see before you lodge in your application. So we don't have many scholarships or subsidies per se. We do have some study grants that we offer from the department. And this is typically for local students, not so much for all the students at this point in time. Can I attend lessons online? The simple answer is no. We are moving out of the COVID-19 or the pandemic mode. We are a university, where we have students who would have to be on campus. The learning experience is holistic when you are in the classroom interacting with the instructors, the faculty members, and your fellow classmates. The COVID-19 situation unfortunately forced not just our university, but almost all the universities around the world to go on the online mode. So we know that as a technology that exists, but that is not the default mode in which we would operate. Let's not even think of wanting to go there. We are coming out of it, so it's a good thing that the world and the COVID pandemic is being, at least we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Can international students work and study at the same time? As far as my understanding is, students on the program can work. There are some time limits. In other words, you can't work for more than certain number of hours in the week. Within that, the details can be seen from the website. We can provide, I think if I'm not mistaken, is 16 hours.
Yes, 16 hours a week.
16 hours a week, right? Yeah. So that to that extent, you can work even as you're studying. That is the international student I'm talking about. I would just go on to add this point, though. You will notice that the program, the curriculum, the 5 modules that you would require to do in a semester would probably going to keep you quite engaged through the day, because you're attending classes in the night. Then the daytime, you're going to be reading the content and doing your own studies and project work. So you have to balance your time. So time management is very important. The simple answer is yes, you can work 16 hours a week during the semester. What is the estimated cost of living in Singapore? Wow. I'm not sure how I should answer that question. The primary cost would be typically related to accommodation, housing. And then, of course, you're talking about cost of living. So basically, it's housing. And if you stay somewhere closer to campus, then you would certainly also cut down or minimize your transportation costs. I am not really very much on the right amount figure at this point in time. So the rental, Sweni, do you have any information related to that?
Yes, Professor. Generally, students can cater between $1,500 to $2,000 a month for the living expenses, which would include their rental and the other cost of living like food, transportation. Right. Generally, we advise students to stay in HDB flats and a shared,
Right.
Sharing with other students, so it works much cost effective for them.
Yeah. So as Sweni just said, that's typically how it works. I've seen over the years, students just group together. They rent a place in the HDB or the public housing apartment context, and they try to find an apartment or say a building that is not too far from NUS. NUS is located in the west. It's in, say, the nearest areas will be Clementi, Buona Vista area. Those of you who know the districts, the neighborhoods I'm talking about, Dover and West Coast and these kind of places. So you don't really have to travel too much. I must add one thing though, as has been seen world over, the cost of living is increasing tremendously. Pre-COVID and today's situation, there is significant increase, and Singapore is no exception to that in terms of the food prices and the rental. There is a change that we are very clearly seeing. But as the figure that was given, $1,500 to $2,000 a month, that's typically what you would expect to spend as the cost of living. How can we increase the chances of getting an admission in the program? The first thing that goes is your first degree, your undergraduate degree that you are currently doing or you'll be completing, say, early next year. A good grade there almost like becomes, the main criteria, one of the main criteria, I would say. Then we ask for we ask for your referee reports who could talk about your academic credentials as well as the work that you're able to do in this area. So it has to be a subject matter referee. So we look at those reports very, very closely. And of course, if you are already doing something in terms of maybe some of them even show some conference presentations or conference papers, some even present international reference journal paper. So it depends on some of the clear characteristics of who you are in terms of your profile, your academic profile related to the sustainability domain that we're talking about, is building performance and sustainability. That's the program we're talking about. If you are engaged already in some form with, say, your country level green building activities, could be green building council or some other professional society membership as student members, all of that gives us, an inkling about who you really are and what your interests are. Anything that you can show to make us understand your passion and commitment in this broad field that we are talking about as building performance and sustainability. I am a working professional at an architecture firm. Does the program offer part-time? Yes, if you're asking whether one can read the program on a part-time basis, absolutely. And that's the part-time students detail that I presented. So what happens is, as a part-time student, you should be working in Singapore. That goes without saying, right? So you are working in Singapore. You're full-time employee in some organization, in architecture firm. You will come to the classes in the evening. All our classes are only in the evening. Starts at 7 p.m. So you choose to read between 2 and 3 modules. So you may do 2 modules in semester 1, 3 modules in semester 2, that's 5 in a year. And then the following year, you do the other 5, maybe 2 plus 3 again. So you would need 4 semesters to complete the program as a part-time candidate. What is the acceptance rate in the program? I would say, let's just say that it's about 1 in 3, I would say, at this point in time. We receive a lot of applications. We have been receiving the last few years, increasing number of applications. And my own take on that is, this whole domain about what we are talking about is not, it is definitely a very present day challenge, but it is also something that provides all of you, all of us, with the opportunity of doing something in the future. So sustainability and any program that is geared towards sustainability and high performing built environments and mitigation measures to address the problems due to climate change is something that students world over want to be part of. It's a nice space to be in as an ecosystem. So we are seeing in that regard increasing number of applications every year. What are the class timings for part-time students? Our class timings are the same, whether it is for full-time students or part-time students. We have a module every day of the week, Monday to Friday. So each day is a different module, 5 modules a week. Our classes always start at 7 p.m. and end at 10 p.m. So for full-time and part-time students, you are in the same class, in the same classroom, in the same class. It's just that the full-time students do all the modules in the week. Part-time students will be doing between 2 and 3 modules. You space it out over an extra academic year. I hope that answers the question. We don't have any modules in the daytime. All our modules are always in the night, in the evening. Starts at 7 p.m. and finishes at 10 p.m.
Professor, we've covered all the questions. Thank you so much for answering the questions from all our students. It has been a fantastic session. I hope students have found it very, very interesting. So we would invite you now to complete the polling feedback to the right of your screen. And if you have any questions further, do send us by email and we will try and address them. Your feedback is important to us, so please ensure that you complete the polling feedback. And this will help us improve and bring to you an even better event next year. So on behalf of the NUS team, thank you once again for joining us. Please continue to stay safe and never stop learning. Good night, everyone, and we hope to see you at NUS soon. Thank you so much, Professor Shekhar, for today.
Thank you. Pleasure.